Welcome, I'm happy you're here, and today's practice will be a playful practice that combines some of the elements of the previous videos, starting with the core and moving from proximal to distal, and really getting a clear sense of our center and an awakened spine, but also creating upper body power and mobility, and open, mobile, strong hips that allow us to move more freely with more control. So I'm excited about today's practice because well, it's a bit of an experiment, but what I'm really interested in, and I want to share some ideas with you today, is in the interface between a stillness practice, like a posture-based stillness practice, whether it's meditation or a yoga asana practice, and different ways of thinking about movement and motion. And I found that this way of thinking about creating bridges between these two endpoints of stillness and motion has been really useful for me over the years to create a more dynamic resilience in my body as I age, dealing with injuries and dealing with just aging, as we all are. It's also going to be a beautiful, deliberate movement practice that we can use like in small spaces like we're doing today. So all you need is basically a rectangular size mat, and we're going to be playing within, maybe just slightly off the edges of this mat. So for me, what makes these practices that I'm going to share so exciting is that over the last, say, 5 years or so, I've been exploring incorporating some of these movements. Prior to that, my main source of movement was a yoga practice, and I found that pushing my body towards the end range movements that look pretty cool, and they can feel really good too. That is a lot of the appeal of a traditional yoga practice. Left my joints feeling pretty unstable. And so while I still practice yoga, I've incorporated other forms and other ways of moving with the goal of becoming more resilient and really testing my structure. So today we're going to play with that. We're going to play with some traditional yoga poses or static positions that we can find stillness and rest in. And then we're going to look at how we can make them ambulatory and create movements, which is a beautiful way to test the resilience of your structure in a playful way. So again, like I said, it's an experiment. We're going to just play together and modify as you need. I'm really excited about offering this kind of approach and sharing these ideas for all levels. So whether you're 5 years old or 95 years old, feel free to modify any aspect of this to work for you. The other little piece that I'll offer is it can be helpful to do this practice that we're about to do with music in the background that you feel moves you. So if today you just want to do this practice like I'm doing in silence, then with the sound of my voice you can. If in future, I'll be recording this, so in future times that you go through these practices, if you want to add some background music, it can be a great way to, especially if it's something that moves you from the inside, it can be a great way to explore our innate capacity for movement and just the joy of movement. All right, so let's begin lying on our backs. So you can have your knees bent or straight, just get comfortable on your back. And we're going to review a few of the pieces that we touched on in earlier videos, and beginning with this idea of starting by stopping. So this will be our first stillness practice where we're just finding rest on the floor. Okay, and using this as a little check-in. So feel the parts of your body that are in contact with the earth, your head, your shoulders, your arms, the backs of your hands, your shoulder blades, the parts of your spine that are in contact with the floor, your pelvis, the two halves of your pelvis, the long bones of the legs, the femur bones, the shin bones, the lower legs, the feet. So just noticing your body making contact with the earth, just checking in. The movement is, for me, a form of medicine. It's a way of caring for ourselves more deeply. Okay, so just feeling now, just in this moment, calling in your attention into your body. And then we're going to begin this idea of three-dimensional breathing, this more dynamic way of accessing our core. So go ahead and exhale all of your air out and feel the little squeeze at the bottom of the exhale, pelvic floor and lower belly. And then inhale as you fill the belly, the chest, the sides, and the back of your body. So creating this three-dimensional expansion and working with your exhale, so finding the bottom of your exhale. Let's do this for a couple more moments, just expanding on all sides. For me, it works to go belly, chest, side ribs, back body, and then in reverse on the exhale, back body empties, side body, chest, and lower belly. But if that feels confusing or difficult, just work with the feeling of filling three-dimensionally on all sides. Notice if you tend to emphasize more in your chest, see if you can bring more breath into your belly so your diaphragm descends as you inhale, and into your sides, your diaphragm expands, and into your back. Slightly more challenging to get breath into the back. Okay, one more three-dimensional breath like this. Exhale all of your air out, draw your feet together, and we're going to do a unified stretch. We'll reach up through our arms, down through your feet. Good, and on your exhale, go ahead and bend your right knee, keeping your left leg straight. Right foot stays flat on the floor. We're going to slide the hands underneath our lower back, and we'll do the first of our big three core exercises from Stuart McGill. So we're going to exhale again and lift the head, shoulders, and upper back off the floor. If it bothers your neck, you can use one of your hands to support your head. You're keeping the curve in your lower back and you're lifting your upper back as high as possible. You'll feel maybe a little shaky at first. You might feel your breaths are shorter. That's normal because you're creating intra-abdominal pressure. It's like we're bearing down to create more focus and containment on the core. Exhale all your air, come down, and inhale, straighten your arms and your legs. Unified stretch. Exhale, bend your left knee, slide your hands underneath your lower back, and lift your head. Keep your pelvis on the floor. You can keep your feet active so you're pressing into the floor and feel this kind of full body engagement that happens as you create intra-abdominal pressure. Again, you can support your head if you like, and try as much as you can to not use your elbows to lift yourself up. So we're using the core, dropping the lower ribs in. We keep the curve in the lower back because the hands are there. And exhale, inhale, reach the arms and legs. And exhale, bend your right knee. And again, slide the hands underneath as you lift up into this modified crunch. Okay, supporting your head if you need to. Couple three-dimensional shorter breaths here just to feel that connection to the center. And exhale, come down. Inhale, reach, unified stretch. Exhale, left knee bends. And last time we'll lift up to this modified crunch position. Upper back, shoulders, head off the floor. See if you can lift the bottom tips of your shoulder blades off the mat. So really creating this strong connection, a strong container. And exhale. Inhale, reach with your arms and legs. And then we're going to exhale and we'll roll over onto our right side, putting your right elbow directly underneath your shoulder, just slightly forward. Bend your knees, and we're going to create a straight line from knees to hips to ribs to shoulders to head. In this side plank, second of the big three, we're going to inhale, lift the hips, take the arm up, exhale, and come down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. One more time. Inhale, go up. Exhale, bend the elbow. Press the hand into the head and the head into the hand. So you're creating some feedback. As the head goes back, your ribs stay in and your glutes are on, so it's pressing your hips forward. So you keep that nice line. And exhale, come down. We're going to switch over to the other side. Same thing. Elbow underneath the shoulder or just slightly in front. Knees, hips, ribs, shoulders, and head in the same line. Inhale, go up. Exhale, down. Inhale up. Exhale, down. Tap your hip. Inhale up. Exhale, down. Inhale, hug the left side of your waist. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. And then we're going to exhale, hand behind the head, and we'll hold here in the side plank, pressing the head gently back into the hand. Ribs stays in. Hips forward. Creating that nice centered line. It's like you're between two pieces of paper, front and back. And then we'll exhale and we'll release. We're going to come back to the right side. And this time you can take it up or down. I should have said that for the first variation. If you're scaling it down, you would just reach your arm down towards your knee. So you're doing this like side banana shape. If you want to scale it up, you can straighten your legs and your elbow or just your legs. Okay, so we'll inhale again, up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Remember, if it's too strenuous as you scale it up, go back to the first variation, hands and knees, or elbows and knees. Up and down, and then last time we go up, we bend the elbow, put the hand behind the head, press back, and hold, a short hold. Center yourself, ribs in, glutes forward, and exhale, release. We'll just switch over to the left side, and you can again scale it up or down with the elbow bent or straight. The longer your levers are away from center, the more load you have. So inhale up, exhale down, working on form. So this is deliberate practice. Doesn't really matter the end shape. It's all about connecting to your side body. So if you're really feeling this super strongly in your shoulders, scale it down a little bit and work on your side body. And last time we go up, exhale, hand behind the head. We're going to press the head back a little bit, ribs in, hips forward. Working with your three-dimensional breaths for this hold. And exhale, let's come down. And then we're going to go ahead and lie down on our backs for a variation of the third exercise. So here we'll take the hands onto the knees. We're going to push the knees and hands together till our arms are straight. So for most of us, that means our knees will be on top of our hips. And then you can squeeze your knees, but push out. So squeeze with your hands and push out with your hands. And then same thing with your hands on the inside. You can push your hands into your inner knees and create this kind of strong container. So now your knees are in this position. We're going to take our arms up as we breathe in. As we exhale, we're holding, sometimes this is called dead bug position. And inhale, we're going to reach the right hand and the left leg away from center. Exhale, come back to the beginning. Inhale, reach your left arm and your right leg. Exhale back to the all fours position. Inhale, switch. Exhale back to center. Try to keep your knees over your hips. Keep going with your breath. Inhaling the extension and exhaling the reach. Okay, so we're working just a couple more times per side, just really creating this strong orientation towards our center. Very good. One more time on each side, keeping your knees over your hips and back to center. Hug your knees in, and then you can roll up to sitting or just roll to one side. And we're going to come on to all fours position. So let's move into some spinal movements. So we're going to round our backs, and this is where you might need your blanket under your knees if you want, and we'll arch our spine. Okay, so just going through the first two movements of the spine, arching and rounding. Working with your breath here. Good. Now let's combine that dead bug position for this rounding and arching of the spine. Okay, so that's our bird dog variation. So we're going to inhale the right arm forward, left leg back. So you're arching, you're extending, and then exhale and round and bring your elbow and knee together. Inhale, reach. Exhale and tap. Inhale, reach. Exhale and tap. Inhale, reach. Exhale and tap. One more time, inhale, reach, and then we'll come back to all fours. So left arm, right leg, inhale, exhale, deliberately drawing them together. So you're combining the movement of your legs now with a rounding and arching of your spine. Just breathing. So it's no big deal, working with this kind of global expansion on the inhale and the connection squeezing on the exhale. One more time, inhale and exhale. Inhale, extend, and then exhale back to center. So we're going to straighten the right leg again, but keep both hands on the ground, and we'll cross the right leg over to the left, looking over your left shoulder at your foot. We're going to side bend the spine. So we're going through the movements of the spine, still with our warm up here. Shortening your left side, lengthening your right side. Exhale, release, and switch sides. So cross the left leg over, look over your shoulder at your foot, and open your left side, shorten your right side. Good, and exhale, release. Let's do rotation lying on our backs. So as you lie down on your back, we're going to bring our knees into a bent position, and we'll take our knees over to the left. Taking your left hand behind your head for support so you can keep a nice long spine, and put your right palm on your forehead. Now working with rotation, we're going to inhale as we twist towards our knees, and we're going to exhale as we open up towards the floor. So we inhale here, and we exhale and open. Okay, you can vary the position of your legs. So you might want to play with having your knees stacked. Okay, so it's more of a twist. Your spine's twisting away from your hips. Or you can let your knees come off axis as you twist. Okay, so a couple different ways to explore. One more time. Good, and then we're going to let the knees come over to the left side or right side as we work now with the other side. So the left hand behind the head, right hand behind the head, left hand on the forehead. We're going to inhale, twist towards your knees, and exhale and open to the side. So inhale and exhale. Working with your breath, warming up your spine. Inhale and exhale. Two more, inhale and exhale. Again, you can vary whether your knees are stacked or off axis. That will change where the twist is in your spine. Okay, so play around with that a little bit. Beautiful. And then we'll come back to center, and we're going to work a little bit on our shoulder blades. So let's bring our hands up over our shoulders. We're going to bring our shoulder blades together and our shoulder blades apart, using the floor for feedback. Feel your shoulder blades squeezing on the floor together and your shoulder blades coming apart. Together and apart. Together and apart. Good. Now lift your shoulder blades up towards your ears and down towards your waist. Up and down. Up and down. Good. Now let's combine those movements. So we're going to come up, together, down, and apart. Up, together, down, and apart. So we're circling the shoulder blades. Good, and then let's go up towards the ears, out to the sides, down and together. So it takes a little bit of coordination to build this motion, the scapular motion. For those of you who got pretty easy going in one direction, you can take one side in one direction and the other side in the other direction. It's like wax on, wax off. Takes a little bit to get that, but work with it and it becomes at least accessible over time. Okay, so let's roll onto our stomachs and warm up our shoulders a little bit. Take your hands by your sides. Okay, so you're in a kind of A shape with your arms. We're going to inhale, lift the arms behind us. Good, and then bring the arms out to the sides. We're going to inhale, lift the arms out to the sides, any amount. Okay, and then we'll bring the arms up overhead, so in a kind of Y shape. We're going to inhale the arms up any amount past the thumbs, and then exhale and bend the elbows. Okay, so with the elbows bent, you're in an external rotation in your shoulders, and then we can turn the arms the other way and just play with the internal rotation. And then we could take one arm into inward rotation, another arm into external rotation here, and then see if you can reach, so combining these movements, we can reach the internally rotated side back for our lower back, and the externally rotated side up and behind, so maybe reaching your hands towards each other, and then going through a slow switch as you bring your shoulder through its entire full range of motion. So it's like you're S-ing, you're creating these S shapes with your shoulders. You're working against gravity, so there's a little bit of load here. Go easy, creating more and more space as you go. Okay, last time. Good, and then let's use our hands and we'll push up to all fours. And we'll work a little bit on our wrists. So coming onto all fours, creating circles now around your wrists. You can pad your knees if you need to, and then going the other way, circles the other way. Remembering the work we did in the upper body class on the lockout position in the arms. So turning the fingers out, so we're externally rotating the arms, and circle around that way, and then circle the other way. And the work to lock out, spreading the shoulder blades and externally rotating the shoulders. Turn the fingers in and circle around. Again, go easy. If this is too much weight on your wrists, you can always do this on the wall. Okay, so you're taking less weight in your hands. Then we're going to take our right hand back and keep our left hand forward. I'll just show you this way. So right hand back. So we're going to peel the right palm off the floor, bending the right elbow. And we're starting to stretch all the carpal surfaces of the webbing of the hands here. So now you can move your thumb in and out. Thumb is the ringleader of the hand, so you want a strong connection. Circle one way, circle the other way. Good. Shake that out. And then the left hand turns back, palm up, thumb in and out. Circles. Try to bend your elbow, circle the other way. Very good. Shake that out. And then we'll do that same kind of opening motion, but now a little more actively. So we'll straighten our elbows, lock out, shoulders apart, screw your shoulders into your back, lift your thumbs, lift your palms. Drop the palms, drop the thumbs. Thumbs, palms, palms, thumbs. If it's really challenging, sit back. If you can add a bit of load, you're coming forward of your wrists. This is really good work to make your wrists more resilient so you can start to put more weight on your hands. So the wrists tend to get fragile because we're not really using them fully. Okay. All right, good. And then we'll work the top surface of the forearms by sitting back towards the heels and keep the elbows straight. Just start to wake up your thumbs. So tapping your thumbs on the floor and then come forward, keeping the tap, keep your elbows straight, shoulder blades apart, and then back. Good. Index finger tap and come forward, keeping your arms straight. So the elbows will want to bend to make room for this movement, but we're trying to really wake up the digits and then come back. And the middle finger, tap, elbows straight. So try to lock your elbows, spread your shoulder blades, tap, 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 come forward, forward, forward. Good, and back, ring finger, tap, come forward, elbows straight, tap, 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 and back, and little finger taps, tap, 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 and come forward. You can do it, come forward. The little engine that could, tap, 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 and go back. Very good. Shake out your wrists. And then we're going to sit back on our heels. If this is not comfortable for your knees, you can just do this up in a high kneeling position. For those of you who are able to sit further back, maybe starting to lift the knees off the ground a little bit. So you're working your ankles. And then we'll do the same thing with our toes. Okay, and again, it can just be high up here, or you're starting to sit back. So you're working with the lower half of your body here, ankles and knees. Good. And then from here, we're going to come up. We'll point our toes again. We're going to shift our weight onto our left leg, and we're going to make a big circle with the right hip. Okay, so really getting the full range of motion through your right leg. This is a great way to work on balance because you can always touch the floor at any point along the way. Okay. If you feel really unstable, have one hand on a wall or a chair and work that way at first. But with time, you'll be able to step forward and then lean your hips forward into a lunge. And then we're going to reverse that. So come back, hover your foot, and a big, big circle into the ball and socket of your hip, going through all the movements of your hip. And then coming down, we're going to switch to the other side. So we'll lift the left leg, big circle around, big, big circle, and then step and drive your hips forward any amount, and then come back and lift and hover the foot. Use your hands as much as you need to, but play with it. This is a really easy way to play with balance because you're close to the floor, so the stakes are lower. And then we go back. Okay, let's curl the toes under, sit back on the heels for a sec, and then come up. Again, now with the toes curled under, we're going to repeat the same thing. So we'll shift into the left side. See if you can find the motion from your hip socket to step forward. Go as slowly as you can. So more control, the slower you can go. Notice if there's more stability with the toes curled under. Drive the hip forward, maybe hover the back knee up if you want to go a little further, and then come down. And same thing in reverse, so hover the foot. Big, big circle. Feel like you're opening the range in your hip socket. Good, and then we shift into the right leg, and we'll take a big circle with the left. You let your arms be in play, they're very helpful here. Come forward. If you can drive your back knee up, even better. And then come back. Shift the weight. And now make a big, big circle. Okay, beautiful. So we're going to make our way up to standing. It's walking up to standing. And now let's come into standing. So kind of warmed up our bodies now. We're going to play with this idea. We're going to do a few movements in stillness, really playing with the alignment of our posture and coming into the body in stillness, and then we'll begin to move a bit with those movements. So starting in standing, in equal standing, in yoga we call this mountain pose. Okay, you can have your feet apart or together. Okay, we're going to stay here for about a minute. Okay, and I want you to feel like you're stacking your joints. So from the bottom, feel your feet on the floor, the front of the foot, the back of the foot, the inside and outside of the foot, your knees maybe slightly bent, your hips on top of your knees and your feet, and then your torso, your spine, your shoulders, and your head. So you're really stacking And you can let yourself sway a little bit, forward, back, side to side. Play a little bit with the orientation. If you want, if it doesn't create too much instability, close your eyes for the last few seconds and just feel the way that your body is connecting to the ground. All right, good. Then open your eyes. And we're going to deliberately come up onto our tiptoes. And just notice now as we bounce on the front of the foot what that's like. And then we're going to come back to our heels. So all the weight is in the heels. And if you can, try to lift the front of the foot even if it's just up and down. Good. And then we'll come onto the outside edges of the foot. And come onto the inside edges of the foot. And you're playing with that. Okay, good. And then we're going to just walk around a little bit. And I want you to walk around in a nice slow way so that you really feel, maybe playing with walking on the outside edges of the feet, playing with what it's like to walk on the inside edges of the feet. What's it like to walk on your heels and on your toes? Okay, last few moments here. Good, and then we're just going to pause with one foot and feel now how the orientation in the inside, the outside, the front, and the back of the foot as you work for balance, stacking your joints, and then walk again. And again, one more time, just stop and hover, maybe the other foot up this time, and just letting your arms be helpful here. They can, sense the surrounding space. They provide little micro adjustments for your balance. Feel the weight in the front of the foot, in the back of the foot, the inside and the outside of the foot. Good. And then last little bit of just walking nice and slowly. You can just at any point notice how walking is a kind of controlled balancing act with rhythm, right? So last couple of just explorations, coming into the body as if this is the first time that you're walking. It's like you're an alien in your body. It's like, wow, this ambulatory, amazing bipedal structure. Okay, so let's come now to one end of our space. I'm going to use the mat for reference. And we'll do a little bit more dynamic. So we're just going to start to bounce up and down and kind of kiss the heels onto the floor. Okay, and now with a little bit of rhythm, we could maybe let the feet leave the floor. Okay, and then to turn this into a pattern of ambulatory movement, we could just start to lean forward so the body just naturally comes forward, and then the same thing backwards. These little bunny hops. So it's creating a little more dynamic, a little more intense load into the structure. Good. And then same thing now if we were to just take the weight onto one side and then the other side. So one side and the other side. One side and the other side. And you can make your toes turn out so it's a bit of a rotation. And then you can let your arms kind of move as well. And then if you add a little bit of motion, so it's hips, lower body, upper body, a little bit of motion, then you can add kind of a bounce walk, a happy bounce walk one way, and hips are moving, knees are moving. It's a rotational aspect with the arms, with the legs. Let's go forward and back a couple times. One way and the other way. Just feel how the whole body is coordinating, so it's quite efficient. It's not a lot of tension. Okay, back to center. Very nice. So now we'll work with a couple other variations of walking, but we're going to start to get closer to the ground. So we're going to move our hips as close to the ground as possible. So it might mean like you're in kind of a partial squat, like you're sitting in a chair. For some of you, you might be able to go down and heels might come up. So it really depends on where you are and listening, taking care of your body. But get as close to the ground as you can without sacrificing the integrity of your spine. So we're not coming down this way. We're coming down more with the hips. So we're getting the center of gravity as close to the floor as possible. So we'll just do that a couple of times. So coming up, coming down. Heels can stay down or up. Okay? And just explore somewhere that you could stay for a little bit of time. So maybe like 30 seconds to a minute. Might be using your elbows on your hands. Okay? And the arms can be here. You know, in a lot of the world, in Asia, these are resting positions, you know, because we sit in chairs. It's also positions that they use to go to the bathroom. You know, it's a very natural position for your digestive tract. So getting as low as you can, working with your edge, but also respecting, taking care of your limits for today. So go as low as you can in the squat. Last few seconds here. Okay, good. And then we'll come back to standing. We're going to work on a couple variations of the squat. The first one being what's called the split squat or the lunge stance. So we're going to step our right foot forward, back heel will be up, and then we're going to bend the front knee, the right knee, into a low lunge. So the front leg is effectively doing a squat position, while the back leg is doing this really incredible stretch for the hip flexor. And then we're going to push into the front foot and we'll come back to standing. So now the other leg in the split squat, go as low as you can and then push and come back to standing. And one more time. This time we're going to stay for a few seconds, a little bit longer. Go as low as you can. Try to find some stillness, even in the intensity of the split squat. And then push and come back up. And the last side, bend the knee. So the knee here can go past the heel. Okay, but you're taking your time. If these are new positions, make them smaller. So just play, experiment. Okay, push with your foot and come back. Okay, now we're going to do a variation. I'll just show you from the front view, where we step the right foot behind. So it's kind of like a curtsy, or something that is called peacock variation. And then we step the left foot behind. Okay, so we step the right foot, going a little lower, and we step the left foot. If you're losing your balance, the arms can come into play here. Okay, step the right foot back. This time we're going to go as low as we can and we'll hold it for a few seconds here. And back up and over with the left foot to the right. And we'll go as low as we can, opening our hips, working with the breath. So don't hold tension here. Relax your body into the position. And then inhale and come up. And now take your feet nice and wide as you can go. This will be the last variation we do of the squat. Sometimes this is called a Cossack squat. So we're going to one side, one knee is bent, the other leg is straight. And then we're going to the opposite side. You can use your hands to help you, but try to keep your spine as elevated as possible. Okay, some of you, if you're flexible, you might be able to go a little lower, where the heel turns, the toes turn up. Okay, so you decide. You're working on your control, you're working on your mobility. Go as low as you can, and then we're going to pause on one side, and we'll stay for a moment here. Try to keep the spine long. Find stillness, relax your breathing. Good, and then we'll go to the other side. Staying for a moment here. You can use your hands to support you, your elbows. Okay, lots of options here. Okay, and then we'll come up, and we're going to heel toe our feet back together. Okay, good. So let's turn this into some locomotion. So we're starting in our low squat. And from our low squat, we're going to come into a squat walk. So it could look like this, where we're just imagining that we're walking in a very, like almost like a tunnel. We're going as low as possible. Okay, or you could start at your depth, and then again, a really interesting way to take your position for a walk is just to start at your depth and then see, can I begin to walk without sacrificing my spine, right? So usually the first thing that goes is the alignment of the spine. So can I keep my spine upright, walk forward, walk back, so low walking. Okay, at first it's going to feel awkward, but try to channel your inner ninja. So you're creating this kind of quality, deliberate quality of smoothness into your low walk. Beautiful. Okay, so from here, we do the same thing with our split squat. So we're stepping one foot forward. We're going to drive that foot forward. And then instead of pushing back, we're going to come forward and take another step forward. And then to reverse it, we just turn, pivot on our feet, and we're on the other side. Split squat one way, and a big split squat the other way. Go as low as you can, turn, and split squat one way, and split squat the other way. Very good. And then we'll do the little peacock or the curtsy walk now. So we're going low into our asymmetrical squat. Then we're pivoting on our feet. And now we're just in our depth squat. So I'm stepping across. And then I pivot. And now I'm in my depth squat. So I step. I pivot, and then one more time, step, swivel, then I'm in my regular squat. So you can feel the burn in your legs, pivot, step, and pivot. Very good. Last time, I'm going to take a nice long stance. I'm going to shift my weight from one low squat to the other low squat with the weight on the low squat. So for me, it's my left side. I'm sliding my right leg in. And then I shift, step, slide, and step. So it really tests our range of motion. And it's so good, therapeutic for your muscles, because your muscles are being strengthened and lengthened through their entire useful range of motion. So one more time across the length of your space. Stay as low as you can. Good. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to move on to closer to the floor, so with our hands. So starting in your low squat, you can alternate weight into your hands with weight into your feet. Okay, so that might be kind of a relief, especially I find the low squat variations very challenging for my hips. So it might be a relief to put your weight in your hands. So we're going to reach our hands forward. So we'll temporarily place our weight in our hands so we can bring our feet forward, like a leapfrog. Hands forward, hips forward. Hands forward, hips forward. Hands back, hips back. Hands, feet. Hands, feet. Good. And now you can do the same thing facing the side. So I use my weights in my feet, and then I go hand, hand, foot, foot. Hand, hand, foot, foot. And I want to pause for a moment in my squat. So I'm now in my low squat, hand, hand, foot, foot. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Okay, one more time, both directions. Okay, last direction. Nice and smooth. All right, then the last thing we're going to do is a kind of a circle. So instead of going in one line, I'm going to take my hand, just like I did hand in the sideways gorilla walk. My hand, then my hand, and I circle, and I'm back in my squat. So I go hand, and I do a little circle. So hand, circle, hand, circle the feet. So if you were to make that more dynamic and you were to take your hips a little higher, it would turn into a cartwheel. Okay, but that's the kind of the essence of this circle, right? So I've got hand, foot. Hand, foot. Okay, so just give it a try, space permitting. Hand, foot. And you can decide how challenging you want it to be by getting your hips higher off the ground. Last time. Very good. Okay, let's come to all fours position. And we're going to work on now 4 points of support. So we're getting closer to our animal friends, closer to the ground. We're going to start with our bird dog, the famous bird dog. So we'll take our right arm forward, our left leg back, and then we replace it on the floor. So right leg back, left arm forward, and then replace. Now this can turn into an ambulatory movement, a locomotive movement. So we reach the right arm and the left leg, and then we step forward with the right hand and the left knee. So right leg, left arm, step forward. Switch right arm forward, left leg back, step forward. Right leg back, left arm forward, and step. And then we'll go backwards. So starting in our bird dog, but now taking our bird dog for a walk. If you want to make it more challenging, you can take your knees just slightly off the ground. Okay, so it would be knees just slightly off the ground. That's going to increase the weight in your upper body. But try not to have your hips up for now high like this, because that's another pattern. Okay, one more time, backwards with the knees up or down. Good. Okay, now from here we're going to switch ourselves onto our facing up side, a supine position. But to do that, we're going to walk our left hand over to the right, and we just switch onto our hips into a seated position. So let's do that in reverse. So I'm going to walk my right hand over to the left, and then I just switch my hips down. Okay, just practice that a couple of times in this space. So I'm just shifting my base and then sitting down. Good. Now from here, I can take the same kind of bird dog in reverse in the crab position. So here I'm going to take my one hand, both hands onto the floor to start. I could have my hips up or down. Down is a lot easier. So I'm going to take my right leg up. I'm going to tap my toes with my left hand. And then I can switch. If I can't quite reach the toes, that's okay. It's just about getting that cross pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to take my right leg up, my left hand up, and I'm going to step back with my right foot and my left hand. So now I take my left foot and my right hand and I step back. So I could hover with the toe tap and then I step. And I hover and I step. And I hover and I step. Now go forward. Hover, step. Hover, step. Hover, step. Hover, step. Last time. Hover, step. Now from here, drop your knees to one side and we're back on all fours. So let's crawl forward, either with the knees up or down. Good, and then we'll switch onto our crab walks and we'll crawl back. Good, go the other way, drop your knees the other way, crawl forward, and sit down, knees come up. We're going to crawl back. Very good. All right, so from here we're going to sit in a straight leg position. So in yoga they call this dandasana. So you can imagine like your sitting bones are tiny little baby feet and you're standing up nice and tall out of that base. You can use your hands or your fingertips for support. We're going to stay here, finding some stillness here, taking a little break and feel the alertness of your spine. If it's difficult to keep your back straight, you have the option of leaning back a little bit or bending your knees. Okay? So you take the hamstrings out of the equation. Okay, last few moments here. And now we're going to turn this into a very, well, all bit pathetic ambulatory movement, but a very effective one to wake up your hips. So we're scooching one sitting bone forward at a time. So my weight is coming onto one side and then the other side. You're not going to be going very fast, but it's a beautiful way to wake up your hips, going forward, going backwards. So I shift my weight to one side, which frees up the hip, and forwards and backwards. A couple more times, working with your sitting bone walks, forward and backwards. Very good. Okay, now from here, we're going to sit. I'm just going to be on one end of my position. I'm going to sit with crossed legs, and I'm going to shift weight into one leg so I can take the other leg back. Okay, so that's sometimes what we call is like a modified pigeon. Okay, in yoga, the back leg would be straight in the full pigeon, or sometimes in movement it's called 90-90 position. Okay, and then from here I can switch my back leg from my front leg and my front leg from my back leg. Okay, so I'm here with this 90-90 position. I can explore different orientations to the floor, to the side, and they'll have different effects on my hips. And let's go back to the first side. Okay, we'll explore now how to turn this into a locomotive pattern. So the first way would be just to have the foot in front and use my hand to kind of scooch my hips forward. So I'm kind of extending my legs and then sliding my butt along the floor. One way and then the other way. Okay? One way and then the other way. And it's just, again, to create a little more control and take our seated posture for a little walk. Okay? Now, for those of you who have a bit more mobility, a more advanced variation would be to keep the back leg behind you, and instead of dragging it forward, you lift your center of gravity up, and then you take your back leg in front, and then you sit down on the other side. So I'm up with my hips, forward, and I sit. And I can do the same thing in reverse. Okay, taking your time. Okay, if that's really challenging, use your hands to help you slide forward and back. Okay, very good. So last thing I like to do is to get really close to the floor now with some rolling patterns. Okay, so on the floor, we'll lie on our backs. And we'll work with first a very nice, luxurious roll. Okay, so starting by taking your right leg in the air. We're going to cross the right leg over. My left hand is going to be up in the air, and I'm going to roll over onto my belly. Okay? And then the same thing in reverse. So the right leg lifts, it comes back, and I roll over to my back. So let's do the other way. So left leg up, cross it over, my right arm by my ear, so I can easily roll, and then I go backwards, the left leg up, and I roll back. Okay, so you can experiment leading with your leg. You can also experiment keeping your legs where they are and leading with your arm. Okay, so I take my right arm up and over, and I can sort of delay the moment when my hips follow. And then the same thing in reverse, so my right arm comes up and back, and the other side, my right arm up, or left arm up, my legs stay where they are, so I'm adding a little twist and over, and then my right arm up, and I add a little twist as I go onto my back. Okay, so that's a kind of not lazy, but like a very luxurious lower body, upper body way of getting onto our backs. We can also bend our knees, and that will give us a bit more agility to roll to one side and then straighten out. So you're going extended when you're on your belly, and then you hug your knees in on your back and extend to come to your belly. So I roll to bent knees, and then I extend to straight legs. So I roll to bend, and I extend to straight. Good. And then let's turn this into a get up. Okay, so we're going to shorten one side. The side that's on top, I do a little kick to take my weight up, and then I'm up. Okay, so I can do the same thing on the other side. So I'm lying on my back, I roll to one side, and I kick the leg. I can use my elbow to help me, and I come back. Okay, so I roll, shorten one side, kick, and come back. And then last time, I roll, shorten the side that I'm rolling to, I kick with my leg, and that will make it easier to sit up. Okay, so a lot of different ideas that I threw at you today of ways of basically changing levels, getting closer and closer to the floor. As we age, this is one of the most important skills to work on, is getting up and down from the floor, because it gets harder and harder and harder. So we're actually deliberately working this into our practice. So the last minute or so, we're going to do some free movement, okay, and exploring, just remembering some of the patterns that we did as we move across the space, okay? So you could start low, okay, with your little butt scooches, or come to all fours, walk around on all fours. Okay? You might turn it into some high walks. Okay, and so last minute here, maybe the music goes on and we're doing a minute of jazz, so to speak. So taking some of the patterns that we played with and turning, basically making it about changing your level. Okay, so can I go low? Can I come high? Can I add speed? Can I add balance? Okay, take your time, deliberate practice of moving through space, changing your levels. And as you move, can you notice the moments of stillness, the moments of poise, of equanimity, of the quality of a caring, deliberate practice? Adding some rolls in there, some sit-ups, walking one way, walking the other way, So I said this was for small spaces. You can take this on the road once you work on it a little bit. Last few seconds here. It's really getting into feeling your body, moving, playing, exploring, and then making your way down to the floor. And let's come into the place we began our practice. So lying down on our backs. Let everything come back in relation to that stillness, the feeling of the ground. Taking a few slow breaths here. And we'll take these last couple minutes just to integrate back into stillness. As if we came full circle, playing, exploring with the body, but also remembering that it all begins and ends with this quality of stillness, of being receptive, being open, being able to be quiet and be with ourselves. It's another way of caring for the body, caring for our humanity. These last moments, just see how still you can get. And notice that even within absolute stillness, that there's still the seed of motion. There's the quiet pulse of the breath. There's the pulse of your heart, of the movement of circulation and energy through the body. There's the movement of the mind and emotions. And you're just in that place of the witness, watching it all, resting back into the seat of awareness. And then we'll become aware, we'll expand our awareness into the room, and the sounds in the room, the feeling of the air on your skin, the light, the ambient light coming in through your eyes. Start with little movements in your fingers and your toes. You might want to stretch your arms and legs if it feels good one last time. And then you can roll to one side and using your hands come back up to sitting. All right. Thank you for your practice. May it make our hearts and minds stronger and our bodies healthier. And we'll see you next time.